Well, so talking about the Ford Ecosport without the Ecoboost engine really is like going to McDonald's and having your favorite burger without French fries. And Ford is finally answering the big question that enthusiasts were asking them about the Ecoboost engine. This car finally gets it and also gets a 6-speed manual transmission along with a host of other changes. So what are these changes and why is the new Ecoboost better than the outgoing car? We'll find that out on the show today. Well, if you're planning to sell your car before buying this one, then you should definitely consider Cars24. Visit any of their 50 branches and sell your car at the best price. Not only this, Cars24 will also transfer the money immediately into your bank account and will also take care of all the paperwork, including the RC transfer. So check out Cars24 today. Yes, the Ford Ecosport still has that reassuring sound when you close the doors. It really is one of the better built cars in its segment, and at this price point, also the perceived quality over here is pretty good. The top of the dashboard, the top of the door panel is made from good materials, and the smaller switches for the air conditioning as well as the stereo system also have a nice and tactile feel about themselves. So build quality is quite good on the car. The big talking point, of course, on the new Ecosport is this sunroof. It is, of course, a new addition that Ford have given to this car, and you can buy it across the range. The other big change, of course, is the fact that the seat fabric is different from the regular versions of the car. You get this nice fabric with the orange trim on it, and you also get a lot of orange all across the cabin to make it feel like a more livelier place than it is. The other good point about this cabin is this lovely touchscreen system. It is one of the best, if not the best system sold across India at this price point, irrespective of segments and class. Not only is it nice and easy to use while you are on the go, the legibility also is very good, and navigating through the menus and sub-menus also really is a breezy affair. Apart from that, you get loads of kit, which we have listed on our link below, so you can check that out. And in terms of utility places, it's a nice place to be in. You get a big bottle holder over here, big bottle holders in the door bins, and the glove box also is of a decent shape and size. The seats themselves are decent in terms of comfort, with good cushioning for your lower back as well as those tall legs. Well, so the Ecoboost is essentially a 1-litre turbocharged petrol engine which makes about 125 bhp of power, and you also get a 6-speed manual gearbox on this car. And I have to say that this extra 6th gear really does make the engine feel a lot more flexible. Now, it is a 3-cylinder unit, so a lot of people might have a lot of inhibitions about it because 3-cylinder engines are usually a lot less refined than 4-cylinder engines. But that said, I'm very happy to report that refinement levels on the Ecoboost are pretty good. And inside the cabin, when you are, of course, on the highway and you're doing speeds of about 80 or 90 kph, the engine is spinning at a very low 1200-1300 rpm in top gear. The cabin really is a nice and isolated place. It really feels very refined and very calm inside the cabin. Now, what you like about this engine is the fact that it's a very rev happy engine, and it feels like a Japanese unit. Yes, and I mean it in the nicest sense of the word. This engine simply loves to rev. It's very punchy in the mid-range. There's loads of power and torque available in the mid-range, and even towards the top of its red line there is loads of power, loads of pulling power, and this engine simply keeps going without any hesitation towards its red line. So it really is a very good engine for keen enthusiasts. Now, the extra 6th gear means that flexibility of this engine really is very good. Now, at the moment I'm driving on the highway. I'm doing about 80 kph and we are in top gear, and the engine is spinning at about 1700-1800 rpm, which means that the cabin feels nice and calm to sit in. The isolation also of the cabin is very good. There's absolutely no wind noise coming in. The tire noise is at an absolute minimum. There's no tire noise at all, and the engine noise, as I just said, doesn't even seem to be there. In fact, it seems that the engine is simply idling at the moment. Now, apart from the rev happy engine, what you'll also love is the steering wheel. It's nice and really crisp, and it really is a very communicative steering wheel. In fact, it's a lot more communicative than your principal in school. Now, the good thing about this steering wheel is that it's very well weighed. It isn't a very heavy steering wheel, so you start feeling tired when you're driving in the city, and neither is it overtly light, so you start feeling nervous when you take it out on the highway. It is very well weighed. It has the right amount of weight, not only for slow city traffic, but also for those long highway trips, and especially for those nice bendy sections of the hills. And what's also a lot more enjoyable to operate and understand is this gearbox. It's a nice snickety snick unit. It's really crisp. The gear shifts are short and really crisp. And living with this gearbox is a whole lot more easier than living with that Pythagoras theorem that you couldn't understand way back in class 9. Now, in terms of suspension setup, Ford have given this car a slightly stiff suspension setup, which is quite understandable because remember, it is at the end of the day a car which will be driven by a lot of keen drivers. Now, a good point about having a stiff suspension setup is highway speeds. When you're doing speeds in excess of 100 kph, this car feels a whole lot more stable than your ex-girlfriend did, and it also feels very comfortable as well as very confidence inspiring. Now, the downside of a stiff suspension setup is the fact that when you're driving it in the city, some of those rumble strips will enter the cabin, and also when you're driving this car on broken pieces of road, you'll have to slow down quite a bit because some of those roads will enter the cabin as well. So you've got to be a little careful when you're doing slow city speeds. Well, the arrival of this engine means that if you are a keen driver, then you really have only one choice in the compact SUV space, and that is the Ecosport with the Ecoboost. But that's not all. The arrival of the sunroof also means that the new car now feels a lot more rounded than before and definitely feels like better value for money. Overall, if you're in the market for a compact SUV, then the Ecosport is a great choice, and you should definitely go ahead at a Ford dealership and check it out. Well, if you enjoyed watching our video today, then definitely go ahead and like it, share and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell your friends about us on Twitter as well as on Facebook, and do follow us on those social media platforms as well. It's bye for now and hope to see you soon.